It doesn't feel like it has been a year since the last yearly crash summary, but in just a few days it will be 2026. Just like last year, I won't be able to cover every single accident, especially if they involve small aircraft. But if I have missed out a major accident, be sure to put it in the comments. Now this year I've got a different microphone, so hopefully there's going to be less complaints on it. This video does contain disturbing images and videos, so viewer discretion is advised. We start off on January 29th, when a light air services Beechcraft 1900 5 X-ray Romeo Hotel Bravo crashed on takeoff. Current speculation suggests that the aircraft experienced structural failure, losing a wing climbing out of Juba International Airport, but an official report has not been released yet. Out of the 21 on board, there was one survivor. On the same day, American Airlines Bombardier CRJ-700 November 709er Papa Sierra collided with a U.S. Army Sikorsky UH-60 0026860 whilst on approach to Ronald Reagan National Airport, operating Flight 5342. According to the radio altimeter on the Sikorsky, the collision occurred just 85 meters, 278 feet, above the Potomac River. All 64 on board the CRJ and 3 on the helicopter died in the collision. This is the first fatal accident involving a CRJ-700, with the accident aircraft being 20 years old. 2 days later, January 31st, X-Ray Alpha Uniform Charlie India, a Learjet 55 operated by Jet Air Rescue Ambulance, crashed into a residential area less than a minute after departure from Northeast Philadelphia Airport, operating as MedJet's Flight 056. Data from the aircraft recorded a maximum descent speed of 11,000 feet per minute. Unsurprisingly, none of the 4 crew and 2 passengers survived. The crash also took the lives of 2 people on the ground and injured 23 others. On the 6th of February, a relatively new Cessna 208B Grand Caravan, November 321 Bravo Alpha, built in 2020, operating Bering Air Flight 445, went missing just under an hour after departure. The aircraft was later found just 31 miles, 51 kilometers from its destination. All 10 on board did not make it. The preliminary accident report revealed that the aircraft was several hundred kilograms overweight. On the 17th, a Delta, let me fix that, that's better. A Delta CRJ 900, November 932 X-Ray Juliet, operated by Endeavour Air, flying Delta Airlines 4819, performed an unusually hard landing at Minneapolis International Airport, hitting the ground at nearly 1,100 feet per minute, exceeding the landing gear's design limit by nearly 500 feet per minute. This expectedly caused the right gear to collapse, after which the wing followed, allowing the aircraft to achieve a 180-degree bank angle, something unusual but not unheard of. In 2008, a Belavia CRJ-100 performed a similar maneuver, but on takeoff. Neither accident had fatalities, with all 80 on board a Delta aircraft surviving. A month later, March 17th, a 35-year-old BAE Jetstream 32, Hotel Romeo Alpha Yankee Whiskey, operating Aerolinea Lanza, Flight 018, crashed shortly after takeoff, reaching an altitude of around 30 feet or 9 meters. The aircraft made it nearly a kilometer away from Juan Manuel Galvez International Airport. 12 of the 17 on board died in the impact with the sea. On April 10th, a Bell 206 Long Ranger 4 suffered an in-flight breakup over the Hudson River, taking the lives of all 6 on board. The aircraft, November 216 Mike Hotel, was operating New York Helicopter Flight 39. On the 22nd of May, Cessna Citation 1 November 666 Delta Sierra crashed into a residential neighborhood during approach to Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport, which was experiencing issues due to a power outage. All 6 in the aircraft died. 8 on the ground were injured, none fatally. Now this accident you have most likely heard of, Air India Flight 171. The June 12th incident involved an 11-year-old Boeing 787-8 Victor Tango Alpha November Bravo. After a flight time of 94 seconds, 62 of them being the takeoff roll, the aircraft crashed into a medical college after losing thrust from both engines. Of the 242 occupants, 1 survived. 19 people on the ground were killed and 67 more were injured. It has been found that both fuel control switches were moved to cut-off. This is the first hull loss and fatal accident involving a 787. On the 24th of July, one of the few remaining Antonov An-24s crashed on approach to Tunda Airport in Russia. The aircraft, Romeo Alpha 47315, operating Angara Airlines Flight 2311, was 49 years old at the time. The crash was categorized as controlled flight into terrain. All 48 on board did not survive the accident. A few months later, on the 20th of October, Emirates Sky Cargo Flight 9788 was operated by Air ACT Boeing 747-400F, Tango Charlie Alpha Charlie Foxtrot. Upon landing in Hong Kong International Airport, engines 1, 2 and 3 successfully activated their thrust reversers, but engine 4 spooled up to 95% forward thrust. This imbalance is likely what caused the aircraft to veer off the runway and into the South China Sea. None of the 4 crew on the 747 died, but 2 ground crew in a vehicle that was struck by the aircraft did not survive. On the 28th of October, another Cessna 208B Grand Caravan crashed. The aircraft, 5 Yankee Charlie Charlie Alpha, was operated by Mombasa Air Safari, nosedived into the ground, burying itself over 2 meters underground at the deepest point. None of the 11 on board survived. A week later, one of the last remaining trijets was involved in an extremely unusual accident. The aircraft, a UPS MD-11 November 259 Uniform Papa, operating Flight 2976, lost its left engine while rotating from Louisville International Airport. CCTV footage clearly shows the aftermath of the engine departure. The preliminary report stated that metal fatigue cracks were found in the left pylon. This accident is very similar to the 1979 American Airlines DC-10 crash, which also lost the left engine on rotation. All 3 crew in the UPS aircraft died, along with 11 people on the ground. On the 17th, an ERJ-145 Delta II Alpha Juliet Bravo, operated by Airjet Angola, Flight 100, touched down before the runway's displaced threshold, which had been relocated about a kilometer further up the runway to accommodate repairs. This video shows the impact that resulted in a landing gear collapse. The aircraft skidded off the runway and subsequently caught fire. All 29 on board were able to escape. The aircraft did not survive. On the 9th of December, the last AN-22 in service crashed following a mid-air breakup. Little is known about the accident, but it is agreed that all 7 crew on board the aircraft died. I'm recording this outro on the 24th of December and crossing my fingers that there's not going to be any more accidents before the end of the year. I give my condolences to all the families of the victims in the crashes mentioned and the crashes not mentioned. If I've missed anything out, please comment below. And just before I wrap up this video,